Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. As so far, I've been your host, Zero Yeti, and let's go into the first animal of the week being the common snook, also known as the sergeant fish or the robalo. It is a species of marine fish in the family Centropalmidae in the order Perciformes, which is native throughout the Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, and the tropical western Atlantic Ocean from North Carolina in the north to Brazil in the south. Here they tend to frequent shallow coastal waters, estuaries, lagoons, and even freshwater rivers, where they feed upon shrimp, crabs, and smaller fish. Reaching up to 4.5 feet in length and upwards of 50 pounds in weight, the common snook is amongst the largest species of snook on Earth. Their body possesses drab coloration except for the distinctive black lateral line and bright yellow pelvic fin and caudal fins, which are especially vibrant during the spawning season. The common snook is a protandric hermaphroditic fish species, with its previously mentioned spawning season spanning from April to October. Once spawning begins, a snook can spawn every other day, releasing 1.5 million eggs each spawn. Said eggs will hatch in as little as 28 hours, after which point the young migrate to brackish or freshwater estuaries, wetlands, ponds, and creeks, where they will then spend the first year or two of their lives. A common snook typically reaches sexual maturity around 2 to 4 years of age and may live upwards of 20 years. Next up, we have the Asian elephant, also known as the Indian elephant or the Asiatic elephant. It is the only living species in the genus Elephas, and is distributed throughout much of Asia, from India in the west to Nepal in the north to Sumatra in the south and to Borneo in the east. It is one of only 3 living species of elephants, with the others being the African bush elephant and the African forest elephant, respectively. Throughout their range, Asian elephants inhabit grasslands, tropical evergreen forests, both tropical and temperate deciduous forests, and dry thorn forests, where they feed upon palm fronds, grasses, sedges, fruit, tree bark, and legumes. Asian elephants have very few natural predators, with only tigers and large crocodiles being known to regularly kill young, sick, or infirm individual elephants. On average, male Asian elephants stand around 9 to 10 feet tall at the shoulder and 20 to 25 feet in length, measuring around 4 to 5 tons in weight, while females are smaller at around 7 to 8 feet tall at the shoulder, 18 to 22 feet in length, and 2 to 3 tons in weight. Asian elephants can be distinguished from their African relatives via their larger, more spherical heads with smaller ears. Additionally, the back is convex as opposed to concave, and their feet have more nail-like structures than those of African elephants, with only 5 on each forefoot and 4 on each hindfoot. Asian elephants are highly intelligent and extremely social animals, with females typically living in herds of 3 to 20 related females, their offspring, and related immature males, which, unlike African elephants, are not led by a single elder matriarch, but instead of a group of older individuals. Mature males themselves form small bachelor herds, which travel and feed together. Mating occurs year-round, and before mating, males will often fight for dominance with one another to see who gets the right to mate. After an 18 to 22 month pregnancy, the female will give birth to 1 or rarely 2 calves, which will remain with their mother for upwards of 3 years. Under ideal conditions, an Asian elephant will reach sexual maturity around 17 years of age and live upwards of 70 years. Next up, we have the Mwanza flat-headed rock agama, also known as the Spidermanagama. It is a species of colorful lizard in the family Agamidae, which is native to the African nations of Tanzania, Rwanda, and Kenya. Here they inhabit savannas, scrublands, and deserts, acting as diurnal predators which feed primarily upon grasshoppers, ants, beetles, and termites, only occasionally supplementing this diet with berries, flowers, fruits, seeds, eggs, grasses, smaller reptiles, and small mammals. These agamas are themselves preyed upon by snakes, birds of prey, civets, mongooses, jackals, and wildcats. Averaging Around 6 to 9 inches in length, Spidermanagamas are known for their marked sexual dimorphism, with males being slightly larger on average than females, and sporting vibrant coloration on the head, neck, and shoulders being a bright red or violet color, while the body is dark blue. In contrast, females are mostly brown with patches of gray and black to help them camouflage with their environment. Agamas live in social groups, including a lead male known as the cock, and about half a dozen females and a few subordinate males. The center of a cock's territory is usually marked by the presence of a physical object, such as a tree or boulder, on which the lizards congregate. Mating occurs during the wet season, during which time females will dig nests in damp or sunny spots where one female will deposit 5 to 7 eggs before covering them up with soil and plant material. Said eggs typically hatch after around 8 to 10 weeks, and female Spidermanagamas reach sexual maturity around 14 to 18 months of age, while males may take 20 to 24 months. Under ideal conditions, either sex may live up to 15 years. Next up is the short-beaked echidna, also known as the mungwi. It is one of 4 living species of echidna and the only member of its genus Tachyglossus. The species is found across Australia, where it is the most widespread native mammal, being found throughout both dry forests and rainforests, wetlands, coastlines, scrublands, deserts, and even urban areas. The short-beaked echidna is also found throughout the coastal and highland regions of eastern New Guinea. Depending on their environment, short-beaked echidnas may be predominantly diurnal, nocturnal, or crepuscular, emerging from their burrows when the temperature and weather is adequate to search for food such as ants, termites, earthworms, beetles, and grubs of various insects, using their excellent sense of smell and keen hearing. Reaching 12 to 18 inches in length and 4 to 15 pounds in weight, short-beaked echidnas are medium-sized monotremes with several unique adaptations such as tubular snouts, long sticky tongues, a lack of external ears, powerful front limbs, and surprisingly large and complex brains. Probably their most famous feature is the iconic spines, which cover their entire dorsal surface, including their small tail. Short-beaked echidnas also sport backwards-facing rear paws, which is an adaptation to help the animal groom and care for said spines. The mating season occurs from May to September, and after a 21 to 28-day gestation period, the female will lay a single soft-shelled egg in her pouch, which will then hatch 10 to 11 days later. After hatching, the young echidna, known as a puggle, will live in the mother's pouch for 2 to 3 months and may remain with their mother for around 200 days after emerging, before leaving the burrow and setting off on their own. Under ideal conditions, a short-beaked echidna will reach sexual maturity around 4 to 5 years of age and live upwards of 45 years. Next up is the Wilson snipe, which is a shorebird named after American ornithologist Alexander Wilson. It is native throughout the Caribbean, eastern Russia, North, South, and Central America, where it inhabits wetlands, coastal beaches, tundra, marshes, and estuaries. Here they are generally solitary animals which spend much of the day foraging around in soft mud and earth, probing for food such as insects, earthworms, crustaceans, mollusks, seeds, and leaves. Well camouflaged, they are usually shy and conceal themselves next to ground vegetation, flushing only when approached closely. They fly off in a series of aerial zigzags to confuse predators, and when dealing with avian predators such as owls, harriers, hawks, and falcons, Wilson snipes are known to dive underwater. Reaching 9 to 11 inches in length and sporting a 15 to 18 inch wingspan, they are a small, stocky bird with pointed wings, short grayish-gray legs, and a very long, straight, dark bill. The body is a molten brown on the top and pale underneath in color, marked with a dark stripe that runs through the eye and several light stripes above and below it. The breeding season occurs from April to August, during which time females will construct a nest in wetlands by digging a shallow hole with their beaks that they will then line with woven coarse grasses and leaves. After the nest is complete, the female will mate with several other snipes before selecting one of them to pair with for the season. They will then lay 3 to 4 olive brown colored eggs, which both parents will guard and incubate in intervals for 18 to 21 days. After hatching, the parents may split the brood, each caring for 1 to 2 of the chicks, who will remain by their side until fledging at around 20 days old. Under ideal conditions, a Wilson snipe may live upwards of 12 years. Next up is Ouranosaurus velvet worm, which is a species of velvet worm in the Peripatidae family, which is named after its discoverer, herpetologist Alejandro Solorzano. Solorzano's velvet worm is native to the rainforests of Costa Rica, where they are primarily nocturnal, which spends its days sheltering inside of rotten trees or underneath rocks and fallen logs, emerging at night to prowl the forest floor in search of prey, such as insects and other arthropods. To capture said prey, these velvet worms forcibly squirt glue-like slime that they produce in their glands on their oral papillae, and they force this out through a pair of highly modified limbs on the sides of their heads below their antennae. This glue-like slime can then be propelled at speeds of up to 20 feet a second, and they can further oscillate these limbs, causing the streams to cross mid-air, weaving a disordered net that can fully coat a target. Velvet worms can use this for both offense to catch prey, or as defense to trap predators such as larger invertebrates, rodents, small reptiles, and small birds, long enough for the velvet worm to escape. Reaching upwards of 8 inches in length, Solorzano's velvet worm is the largest species of velvet worm and sports a flattened cylindrical body cross-section and rows of unstructured body appendages known as oncopods, or oncopods, on which they move around. Males tend to have fewer oncopods than females, averaging around 34 pairs, while females sport 41. Both sexes have light brown or wine red colored bodies with pale yellow oncopods. Not much is known about their reproductive habits, but it appears that Solorzano's velvet worms mate year-round, with mothers giving live birth to several fully formed offspring at once. Under ideal conditions, Solorzano's velvet worm may live upwards of 6 years. And our extinct animal of the week is Ouranosaurus, which is a genus of herbivorous basal hadrosauriform dinosaur that lived during the Aptian stage of the early Cretaceous throughout what is now Niger and Cameroon, some 115 to 100 million years ago. The first remains of Ouranosaurus, consisting of a mostly complete skeleton, were unearthed in the Guadalfoa region of the Sahara Desert in Niger by a team of French paleontologists led by Philippe Taguet in 1965. Said team would return and launch yearly expeditions from 1965 to 1972, and despite finding a second nearly complete specimen in 1970, Philippe Taguet wouldn't end up scientifically describing and naming Ouranosaurus, which means brave lizard, until 1967, or 1976, sorry. With the specific name Nigeriensis, referring to Niger, its country of discovery. Reaching 23 to 27 feet in length and 2 to 4 tons in weight, Ouranosaurus was a relatively large iguanodontian basal hadrosaur which sported forelimbs roughly half the length of its hind limbs and 5-fingered hands with small thumb spikes on the interior sides. Its skull sported a broad keratin-coated beak and 2 bony growths on either side of the skull between the nasal and the eye openings, which were thought to have supported a horn-like crest. The most spectacular feature of Ouranosaurus is the presence of its tall neural spines along the dorsal, sacral, and caudal vertebrae. Popular thinking has these spines supporting either a sail or hump that rose from the back of Ouranosaurus. The robust nature of these spines may lead towards the hump theory, or at least a thick and fleshy sail rather than a flap of skin. In life, Ouranosaurus would have inhabited wetlands and river deltas, traveling in herds and acting as a mid to low browser, feeding upon leaves, fruit, roots, seeds, alongside other herbivores such as Loridosaurus and Nigersaurus, while trying to avoid predators such as Suchomimus, Carcharodontosaurus, and the crocodilian Sarcosuchus. As always, take care of my guys, gals, non-binary pals. Have a wonderful